A reconstructed first-person account of February 24th, 2022, built from publicly reported events and things said in interviews since, not a verified transcript. Known quotes are used directly. The rest is a narrative reconstruction of a day that is, in outline, public record. I don't remember falling asleep that night. I remember being told, before 4 a.m, that it had started. It wasn't chaos. It was quiet and fast, and the quiet was worse. Explosions were already being reported in Kyiv, in Kharkiv, in Odessa, before I'd finished the first briefing. I was told, roughly in the same window, that Putin had gone on Russian television to announce what he called a special military operation. I remember thinking that the name itself was already a kind of lie. There was nothing special about it, and it was not an operation in the limited sense that word usually means. It was a war, aimed at the whole country, starting from more than one direction at once, from the north out of Belarus, from our own eastern border, from Crimea in the south. I recorded a message before dawn. People needed to hear it from me before the rumors got there first. Martial law was the first decision that had to be public within the hour, not the 10th. I already knew about Hostomel, an airfield close enough to the city that losing it would change everything about defending Kyiv. Nobody had the full picture that morning. You decide with what you have. Somewhere in those same hours, Chernobyl was no longer under our control. Even the worst day, it turns out, has room for one more bad detail. I remember a strange, specific worry attaching itself to that one piece of news. Not just the military meaning of it, but the fact that the site itself demanded a kind of care that had nothing to do with who held it. We cut ties with Moscow. We ordered general mobilization. Men of a certain age were told they couldn't leave the country. I knew exactly what I was asking of people. I made the call anyway, because the alternative wasn't a country that could defend itself at all. Later that morning, I was told the UN Security Council was convening an emergency session, one that had, in fact, then arranged the day before, once it was clear an attack was likely. There was something almost absurd about the fact that Russia held the Council's presidency that same month. Our ambassador spoke to the chamber directly, describing what was happening as it was happening, while it was still happening. By mid-morning, I was hearing what the city looked like. Lines at pharmacies, at cash machines, people carrying what they could down into the metro. Stations that hadn't sheltered anyone in decades were sheltering people again. At some point that day, someone raised the idea of getting me out of Kyiv. I don't remember every word said in that room. I remember the decision. Leaving wasn't a way to keep leading. It was a way to stop. I need ammunition, not a ride. That was the substance of it, whatever the exact phrasing. I spoke with a number of foreign leaders that day, President Biden among them. The ask didn't change much call to call. Support, and fast. Ukraine was not a NATO member, which meant none of the alliance's collective defense guarantees applied to us. Whatever help came would come as a choice each country made on its own, not as an obligation. Sanctions were announced within days, coordinated across the U.S. and Europe, a real response, but not, on that first afternoon, a substitute for what we actually needed on the ground. By afternoon, people were already moving, west, toward the borders with Poland, Slovakia, Hungary, Romania, Moldova, toward anywhere that wasn't where they'd woken up. Hundreds of thousands, by the numbers I was being given, and the numbers were already out of date by the time I heard them. I understood it wasn't temporary for those families. I didn't yet know, that first afternoon, how large it would get, that it would become one of the largest displacements this continent had seen since the last war fought on it at this scale. That evening, a few of us, the head of my office, the Prime Minister, a few others, stood on a street near the building and recorded something on a phone. No script, no studio, no formal setup. I wanted it to look like exactly what it was. Us, still there, still in the city, saying so in under a minute. People needed to see the street behind us more than they needed a formal address. That clip traveled further and faster than almost anything I said that day in a more official setting, and it said something about how we would keep communicating for a long time after. The sirens didn't really stop that night. Neither did the updates. Borispil, other regions, numbers still moving, still uncertain. Casualties were already being reported, military and civilian both, though nobody had anything close to a full count yet, and I understood we wouldn't for some time. I recorded once more before the day ended. I wanted to speak to more than one audience in that message. Our soldiers, the people underground in the shelters, and, in Russian, directly across the border, in case some of it reached past what people there were being told by their own state television. I don't know how many, if any, actually heard it that way. I said it anyway. I hadn't planned to be the kind of leader this day required. I used to play a president in a story someone else wrote. Nobody had written this one. I didn't leave Kiev that night. I haven't left it since, in any way that mattered. That decision, more than anything I said out loud, is what people remember. I don't have a complete account of my own day. Nobody does, from inside one like it. What I have is what I decided, and when, and why.